Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, here we are again at the Airfreight Pharma digital event, and it's another session, and the title of the digital event is Essential Transport for an Essential Industry. And I think those words reflect exactly what's been happening over the last 18 months or so. The profile of especially pharma has really jumped up, and it's in the forefront of everybody's thoughts at the moment. Now, I've got two great guests representing two great airlines, so I'll come to introduce them in the minute. But what this particular session is focusing on is more of the pharmaceutical regulatory requirements that are becoming stricter and are beginning to extend into the transportation of pharmaceutical goods. So what are the airlines doing to implement the requirements for the transportation of temperature-sensitive products? And what obstacles, barriers, challenges, benefits, successes are those airlines experiencing? So the two gentlemen I'm talking about, and this is a little bit of a test for me because surnames and names are a lot different to the ones that I'm used to. So I do apologise, gentlemen, and I hope this is the best attempt and one that you will accept. So firstly, Tomel Sohorab, who's known as Tom, and thank God for that, Tom. That makes things a lot easier. Really appreciate that one. And Tom is the manager of cargo solutions and strategy, as well as business development for Air Canada Cargo. So nice one, Tom. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having myself.
Appreciate it. And then we come to Abdullah Bahadir Büyükkaymaz.
Yes, Chris. Yeah, correct.
Not too bad?
No, you did great.
Yeah, thank God for that. Right, and Bahadir is responsible for special cargo product management, and he's with Turkish Cargo. So again, welcome, Bahadir. Really appreciate it, and thanks for joining us, gents.
Thank you.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to embarrass you both with a little bit of reference to your bios. I won't cover every single thing because we'd be here for half of the session probably, but just very quickly. So I'll start with you, Bahadir. Obviously you've worked as customer relation management and logistics operations management within reputable global and domestic companies. In the last 9 years, you've been working as special cargo product manager in Turkish Cargo. Everybody knows how Turkish Cargo has grown and represented itself on the stage. So I'm sure they'll all be applauding you there when they see you up on screen. Bahadir, say that's one of the team members who got us where we are.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. And also you're involved in developing new products and services and enhancements to existing ones, as well as the latest technology. Now, and it goes without saying, your company and your individual involvement with various IATA groups and also the CEIV certification. So well done you. Now, Tom, again, responsible for the maintenance and development of specialized cargo commodities, such as pharmaceuticals, perishables, valuables, live animals, human remains, and you also serve as a conduit for approvals of GPS and data logger technology. So really advancing there, and also reflecting on the emphasis now on value products as opposed to volume products. So that's brilliant. 13 plus years of airline experience, and you've been in operations, sales, project management, and also product development. So well done to you. And you also led the first IATA CEIV live animal program toward Air Canada Cargo, the highest certification. And in 2020, Tom, you served as a subject matter expert for Air Canada Cargo CEIV certification. So well done, lads. Goes without saying, full of experience and full of shall we say, academic as well as industry-wide specialization. So really looking forward to this. Now, lads, give you a chance for airtime. What I'd like to ask you is, this last 18 months now, the whole world has seen a different picture of air cargo, gone up hugely in profile, supply chain management, all of these solutions, and the way the whole world has relied on the speed of getting these wonderful vaccines from scientists, you know, through the various challenges of accreditation and regulation and being allowed to be dispersed. But the airlines in particular have had a major role in how they've managed to transfer those. And there's been a huge profile within the press. So what I'd like to ask you both first, just to get a feel and an introduction to yourselves, is how have you found the last 18 months as far as challenges, rewards, and opportunities? So I'll go with you first, Tom, okay? If that's
Absolutely. Okay. No, for sure. So I do want to start off by having one quick note. Both Turkish and Air Canada have very similar profiles. We both have the CEIB live animal and pharma certification. I believe our two airlines have the courage to go into these certifications and became one of the world's first to go through these processes. And also our geography is just, our partners are really heavy traders. So we have a lot of transit cargo going through both Canada and Turkey. So that's one of the reasons why we are such good handlers at cargo. So obviously in the pandemic, we've had some enormous challenges. And I think every airline knows these challenges. We've had everything from staff reductions to flight reductions to grounding airplanes, parking airplanes, having them collect dust. And I think everyone knows when a plane is parked, it's not making any money, it's not making any revenue, and we're all in a burn mode. So having the supply chain narrow its lanes and having so few lanes available, and then all of our customers are struggling to get this cargo into our lanes, it became an extremely big challenge for us. How do we prioritize cargo? How do we load cargo? Also with the staff reductions, now we have challenges of handling the cargo. We need to maintain our quality, we need to maintain our service, need to maintain our commitment, because we can't shortchange our customers on how we handle cargo. So we've had a lot of challenges and a lot of adjustments to how we manage cargo within ourselves and with our GHAs. And obviously the opportunities have become, we've been able to gut some of our planes and put cargo in the upper deck. We've removed the seats, we've done things like that. So we have some really unique opportunities that we strategize with multiple branches. And one of the great outcomes of the pandemic was that cargo became the poster boy or the poster girl of the industry. We got a chance to be the ones that kept the lights on. We were the ones that were being looked at to do what the rest of the airline couldn't do for a while. We became the front runners for projects, and we were the only department that had investments or staffing investments or even project investments. So a lot of things have come out of this pandemic, and it's given us a lot of opportunities to show our values to the organization.
Yeah, well, oh God, well put there, and a nice little pitch there for both yourselves and Turkish. So I really appreciate that, Tom. And Bahadir, over to you.
Yeah, I think, Chris, thank you for the good question. I think it's been almost 2 years since the Corona crisis started. Yeah, when I look back, I think that I am really proud of the whole air cargo industry, including, of course, Air Canada, Turkish Airlines, and other carriers, ground handlers, freight forwarders, some publication companies, and WHO, because again, we got together and then we collaborated very well, because we need to, at the beginning of the Corona crisis, remember please that we had to downgrade a lot of aircrafts. So there was a capacity issue. So everyone was asking around, how are we supposed to move the vaccines, medicines, medical suppliers? Yeah. Because there was a limited capacity. But I think that we managed that very well. We converted some of the aircrafts, passenger aircrafts, into passenger freighters. So there was additional capacity, and then we added a couple of lanes as well to our routes. And look at IATA. They like Pharma.aero. They publish a lot of guidelines, white papers. What are the critical control points to ship Corona vaccines. So there were a lot of guidelines, and personally, I attended many seminars. I refreshed, my know-how, my knowledge as well. And there were some dry ice limitations. Remember? Yeah. And we had to increase our dry ice limit as well. So we had to work with our, civil aviation authorities, IATA, WHO, and some airline as well, because we had to do some benchmarking. And as far as I know, we have accomplished a lot, and then we have gone a long way. And as Turkish Airline, I just look at the facts and figures. If I am not mistaken, we have moved more than 300 million corona vaccine doses. So it's a lot, and we helped some developing countries such as Sao Paulo, Beirut, Lebanon, Azerbaijan, Baku, Belgrade, and even some European countries as well, because we have a good collaboration and a great contract with Chinese government, Sinovac, at the beginning. But in the middle of the journey, we signed a contract with Pfizer as well. So from China to Sao Paulo, from China into Turkey, some Eastern European countries, we have moved a lot of vaccine shipments. And as far as I know, we didn't fail, Chris. We did a great job.
Yeah. No, it's good. Now, something that you said earlier, Tom, you mentioned about quality and service levels and standards. Okay. Now, that is really, really important. And if you look at what's happening in shipping at the moment, there's an awful backlash with regards to the amount of profit that's estimated by the end of the year. What some would say certain gouging of opportunities with prices, etc. But one of the things that comes back as a criticism, not just in aviation, shipping, etc., but across most industries now, is that the levels of standards and continuity or consistency of standards is starting to fail because of lots of the many elements that have come with COVID. What would you say has been the biggest challenge for you, Tom, in maintaining those service levels?
That's a very, very good question. I believe I have one motto, and I say that almost every presentation. If you really, really don't care about your customer, then just don't care about their quality. So that's why we got these CEIV certifications to really back our quality. Turkish is in the same situation. They really care about their customers. They've invested to have this quality. Quality is all about investing in your infrastructure, investing in your people and your resources to make sure that everything's delivered. Some of the biggest challenges, of course, is volume coming in, and sometimes even having to turn customers away because of lack of capacity. We obviously, every airline and every company has some quality issues, but to have a quality team, to have a quality quality reporting manager, to have a quality section, to have regular audits, not only within the airlines, but internal audits, allowing external audits, and allowing the transparency of the QOR reports and all the other kind of quality excursion reports with our customers. That's been our transparency to increase our quality and to maintain our commitment to our customers.
Oh, I think that's great, and what you've alluded to there as well, and I like the fact that you said being open and positive about having internal audits and self-assessments, not just relying on external audits, because then it shows that there's a real culture within. Now, can I ask you something? Because everybody talks about collaboration and data sharing and digitization and digital transformation, etc. With all of those results now from audits, etc., and also some of the statistics, SPIs, etc., do you genuinely think that the industry shares enough of that data? Because the reason I'm asking that is several of the customers that I've been involved with just recently, one of the first things they say to me is, can you tell me the comparisons across the industry and across the sectors? And to a degree you can, but it's not as formal as it could be or would be if there was a real good central data sharing.
Oh my gosh, I don't know where to start with this response. You obviously struck a chord with my heart because this is very close to me. So, Bahadir, can I give this to you first, and then I'll swing in and hopefully be as polite as possible.
Yeah.
Tom, you make a great politician, mate. That's the way. Bahadir, would you mind if I swing this into you and then I'll come back? Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, no problem. Chris, frankly speaking, we share a lot of information in terms of, capabilities, ground handler performance, risk assessment, station assessments, yeah, we have to do that. We are very open to our customers, but you know, in terms of open up everything to customers, it's not easy. You know, we are living in a competitive world, so there are a lot of, you know, competitors waiting at the customer, pharma companies, freight forwarders at the door. So personally, we are honest. When it comes to pharmaceutical and people's health, we are acting, you know, as much as you know, frank and honest. But you know, sometimes customers need to take some action as well. You know, I learned a lot of things from Corona. Maybe you will ask me these questions later on. When you pay for the quality, if you are willing to pay, you get what you want.
One would hope. One would hope.
Yes. Yeah. And because you know, a lot of Corona vaccine shipments we moved around the world. You know, active solutions, mRNA, C-Safe. I think it's okay to mention those names.
Yes.
And very, very robust, good quality. You know, soft boxes. I know they are expensive as well. So as well as you control all of the critical control points, and you pay for the product, you know, you don't leave it to a chance. So, but like every other industry, customers or people asking for good quality, speed, and cheap. But you cannot have them all.
Yeah.
That's
Very,
one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, no, it certainly is a big challenge. It certainly is. And one of the things I was going to ask you there, which I'll follow on, but I know Tom's desperate to add to that particular area. So Tom, I'll let you go first now.
So first and foremost, I don't think enough data is being shared. I don't think there's enough information flowing from the shipper to the consignee and everything in between. And that's why I'm an active member of the One Record program with IATA. I'm part of the Cargo Technology Board, and that's why I'm also part of the GPS and data logger approval. A lot of the pharma companies are the ones who are bringing this transparency to the forefront.
Exactly.
It's not the guys who are shipping boxes of screws. It's the guys who are shipping these vaccines that need to have a custody record or what's happened in their cold chain logistics. So it's like having a digital security guard. So you know what the cargo is experiencing. You know what the cargo, if the ULD doors have been opened. Uniload is one of our suppliers who provides us with ULDs, and their fleet is digitalized. So in other words, I can tell you what the temperature is of these ULDs or these pallets. I can tell you if they've been left out in the sun. And so obviously we want to build this data model where we can protect these critical control points that Bahadir is mentioning, because sometimes excursions happen. Sometimes there's a delay loading and unloading cargo. So we've got to protect this cargo from the elements, whether it be sun or rain or snow. So there's all these factors that come into play. And because the information isn't entirely shared in an extremely transparent way, when I mean extremely transparent, I mean in a way that if anyone's used Uber, you can not only see the name of the driver, the license plate, the vehicle, you can see where the vehicle is and where it's coming to you. We want to have that level of granular transparency to our customers, because transparency is honesty, and that transparency and honesty is what we want to build. And I think everyone's used to having a computer in their pocket, and that computer in your pocket should be able to tell you everything you need to know without having to make a phone call, without having to do anything. The information should be pushed to you because that information is relevant to you. So obviously there's data privacy issues. There's a whole bunch of other components that need to be that we need to get over to put this all in place. But my real fear is that we don't share enough data, and every partner is sharing data with their direct partner, not with their customer's customer. So that's what we'd love to do. That's what we want to get to, and that's why One Record is one of the programs that I really believe is heading in the right direction.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the pair of you think, but this business about data and being open and being confident about being open, there's nothing wrong with that, because you can still control what happens with the data and where the data goes. So to a degree, it's like anything else, because for all of us today, cybersecurity is almost a pandemic in itself, and you've got to control that. So I think with the data, that's not a problem. Now, both of you sort of mentioned, and it's something I want to ask you. Value, yes. Okay. Extra services, consistency. If somebody pays for a good or a high value and not a volume product, then it should be treated as such. Now, definitely prior to COVID, and I think you both have come across this in your time, is things like undeclared pharma in normal packaging and incorrect labeling. Yet, as an organization, and especially the people on the ground, you know what's inside and you know that people are doing it, and you've then got to deal with it when something goes wrong. Now, the word that I'm trying to use as much as possible, I don't care whether people get sick of it or not, is care. And as an acronym of care, you know, consider all responsibilities everywhere. Now, there comes a time, I think now, as a result of this COVID, where people have got to stand up and they've got to either say no, or they've got to say this is wrong, because otherwise all the regulatory guidelines in the world aren't going to make a difference if these things keep slipping under the radar. Now, Bahadir, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is a very good point, Chris. When you are in a daily operation in the warehouse, you see a lot of strange, bizarre situations. You know, you look at the boxes, pharma boxes. There are different temperature ranges on the boxes. You know, it's very it's misleading. 2 to 8, 15 to 25. One warehouse personnel, is coming back to us. What am I supposed to do? Put it in the 2 to 8 or put it in the 15 to 25. And then you look at the airway bill and and booking, airway bill and labels, they don't match. And then you get back to the customers. You cannot get in touch with them. So you are not, supposed to open up the boxes, and then you do your best. And then, as you mentioned, customer starts, complaining. Why did you do that? Why do you do that? So every time, this is a very challenging industry. It's not easy to handle each situation, but we always believe in training, education. We have some good, training materials, especially digital and classing. And we always tell our staff, personnel, executives, when it comes to pharma, please think about, your relatives are, sitting in the hospital. This medicine is coming to you, coming to your relatives. And then what would you do? Yeah. And then this is really important. This is a key issue. So I believe in training a lot. So that's about it, Chris. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
No, I really appreciate that. And I'll come to training again a little bit later. Now, one of the things that, Tom, if I may, I'd just like to ask you, the pharmaceutical companies now always, from my involvement going back years and years, you always used to get a checklist, or you get a tender, or you get various items and guidelines, etc. But when you got something directly from one of the pharma guys, my goodness me, it was in detail, and it was really, really to the point. And you'd have more discussion with your colleagues and management about that than probably most areas. And then you think to yourself, well, why on earth are we not doing things like that within our own internal audits, et cetera, et cetera? So they're having a big impact. And now if they start taking more interest upstream as to who selects who, because our supply chain is made up of lots of relay runners. So if they start taking more interest in that and put more emphasis on it. So also now, I think you're both familiar with Mitigate. So they also look at lane risk. With that in mind, the selection process should be more effective. Do you agree, Tom? Or you still think there's the opportunity for people to get in under the radar, and they sell one thing and they give another, and it's all to do with very, very small cost savings. But the implications of that bad practice is terrible for the end user.
Absolutely, yeah, and you're right. You're right in many ways where it has been. I don't want to say prevalent, but it has existed in the past, and the past being up to 2 years ago, where as Bahadir mentioned, yeah, we get boxes that have 2 temperature ranges on it, which is really ridiculous. And this is one of the ways that maybe the pharma companies are skirting, or someone's skirting around the airline procedure, because they know that, and we've even had inquiries from the direct pharma companies for freight forwarders cargo saying, we need to start it at 15 degrees, and then when it gets there, we need to put it in a fridge at 2 to 8. Well, you're making it complicated for us. Like, what part of the aircraft do you want us to put it in? Where in the warehouse do you want it to put it at the origin? Where at the destination? Where in the transit? So it gets extremely complicated. And now you're adding all these critical control points where you are going to fail for this customer. So that's why we know that this skirting does happen. The other thing I want to mention is that labeling issue that Bahadir is mentioning, multiple labels. When we went through our CEIV process, we decided to completely overhaul our AC Pharmacare program. So we had our cargo program laid out as a priority, almost like a first class. So if I can use the analogy of passengers, a first class seat versus a premium economy seat versus an economy seat versus a budget seat. So let's pretend cargo fits into that category, and pharma fits into that first class category. And that's why it's extremely important, because the world needs to live. So if you start buying a budget seat or an even economy seat and expecting first class service, of course you're going to have these failures in service and quality. So that's why we make sure that quality fits into the first class area. So we have these forms, we have this training, we have if we have cargo that comes in at 1525 and 2 to 8 with the stickers, we reject the cargo. You go figure it out, and you come back to us with 1 sticker, and it's rejected. And I've been getting a lot of calls initially when we did this. And then the Pharmacare program we had with the priority, we changed it. We said, it's not this economy, this scale of economy of first class. Everything is first class. There's no other option. It's all first class. And within the first class, you need to have your temperature range. So we have Pharmacare Simple, Pharmacare Plus. Simple is we've got like a soft box, which really has strong packaging, or we have Pharmacare Plus, which needs 2 to 8 or 15 to 25. And our operations is streamlined, because they know this Pharmacare Plus needs to be in a very specific zone, and our load and capacity, they know where the cargo needs to be loaded within the aircraft and how it needs to be planned. So we have all these mitigations in place, and make a simplified version for operations and sales. And then our customers have only the option of buying first class or first class cargo.
Yeah, no, you're right. And very well put as well, Tom. Now, can I ask you something now, Bahadir? You mentioned earlier about the types of options that are available, C-Safe, Envirotainer, etc., and various other packaging. Now, the producer has got an idea, if they base it on the mitigate lane risk issue. They know roughly how long they've got to preserve their products. They also know what the impacts can be of various excursions. So their choice of packaging should, in theory, cover all of that, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Then when you add in the extra precautions that are there, where you've got an active unit and they've got a choice, obviously it's a higher value product, but that also secures the credibility of the product. Okay, so now the question is, as a result of what's happened and the speed of process, the collaboration with customs and, enhanced documentation, etc., the question then is, should one actually invest so much in fixed assets like call facilities and refrigerated areas, which can accommodate a huge amount of cargo now, when at the end of the day, it should go straight through and it should be gone as quick as possible?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question, Chris. I have to think about it a lot, but active container solutions, some hybrid, softbox solutions are helping a lot. So I understand your question very well. As an airline, as a carrier, we give those solutions to the pharma companies, freight forwarders, and then we are telling them, look, this is what we have. This is the capabilities. Especially like Turkish Airlines, we are flying to a lot of African tough destinations in the globe. And as we know, like some Middle Eastern stations, most of the African stations are very, very difficult. We don't have enough equipment, infrastructure, cool rooms, trained staff, custom authorities are, pain in the back, so they don't come in the cool room, they leave it there. They expect the packages, in front of them to inspect. So I think it might help a lot, your solution. It's good. I think we can think of it more. Yeah.
Yeah, where I'm coming from, the reason I'm asking the question is because if you look at all the things that are happening now, and cost efficiencies of specialist staff, remuneration now for good staff, all those challenges that are going to be ahead. So just to add on to that, maybe Tom, you can cover this. Is if you look at airports, they've got such a huge impact now on their own ecosystem and their own code of practice within those airports. And if they become cargo centric, plus all the associated businesses that run with it, and they've got the land, they've got the area, etc., they can have a major impact now moving forward with the GHA partners. And so what I'm saying is, if you think about it, the actual storage now in the future would be more of a contingency rather than a service, or rather than people allowing it to be left for a certain amount of time, because everything we want, whether it's perishables or whether it's pharma, we need to go quick. And we need to look at that, because if you look at the pharma side, and Tom, I know you know this, I mean, the percentage of waste before it even gets to where it can be sold is phenomenal. So my point is, as a major influencer now, moving forward as a business, surely the airports now, they also need to change their strategy and the way they're seen, and also what they do. What do you think of that, Tom?
So Chris, I'm very impressed. You've done your research. So I think you know exactly where I'm going to go with this one. But a lot of the airports have done a lot of investments into their infrastructure. They've I know Donata has invested into cool dollies in Singapore because of the extreme climates there. I know Donata in Dubai, they've also invested in their facilities. We have a lot of freight forwarders who have invested in their cold chain facilities in San Juan. So we know where these investments in these facilities are happening. And so you may know that on October the 1st, my VP, Jason Berry, announced that we have a $16 million program in Toronto to increase the cold chain facility by 30,000 square feet. And it's going to be an end-to-end facility where from the acceptance all the way to before it goes in the aircraft, it's going to be entirely controlled in a CRT or COL zone. There's no opportunity for the cargo to feel excursions or feel the temperature variations. Cargo, no matter what happens in socioeconomic conditions, the world needs to eat and the world needs to heal itself. So perishables always move, and pharma always moves. The box of screws, it'll be delayed. The Amazon stuff that you're seeing, e-commerce, it'll be delayed because we need to feed the world. We need to protect the world. So that's why Air Canada has decided to invest $60 million to have this facility upgraded. And it's not just something we're thinking about, we're working on. The shovel's going into the ground like any moment now. The investment's been signed off by our VP and also by our president. So investing in our biggest hub, where we have the most cargo flowing through, shows our commitment to feeding and saving the world.
Very good, very good. And now something else with regards to where the real impact is made. And your colleague Janet Wallace, she used the term which I've stolen, and I don't apologise for it because I like it. Score on the floor, and about that's where I think our entire industry now has got an opportunity to reflect and recognise and appreciate the hard-working guys on the floor, because no matter how much data, forecasting, statistics, those people in all weather conditions and in all environments, they have to do a fantastic job. And thank God in the main, they all do it. And they now need to be encouraged to stay in the industry, because we need those professionals to see it as a career and see it as an important step. Now, as far as keeping those people, and I know, Tom, your organisation, you've lost a lot of middle expertise, same as all carriers, same as GHAs, because of what's happened. Now, this surely is a wonderful opportunity to actually change the foundation of the business as a result of this pandemic, and not let this crisis go to waste.
Yeah, absolutely. We've lost a lot of knowledge and a lot of heart in this pandemic. I can tell you, my colleague who had the pharma program before me, Carolyn Van Vliet, she retired early, and she handed the reins over to me in that process. We've lost a lot of people on the floor as well, and the people on the floor, as Jan said, score on the floor. The person that reports to her directly said, operations are the promise keepers and salespeople are the promise makers.
Yeah.
So that's how we understand our commitment to each other within the organization. And just having to put all this together is one of the challenges that we've been going through.
Yeah, and what are you doing now to make sure that they get the level of new leadership and new culture that's necessary?
Absolutely. So obviously losing the senior staff early retirements, we've had to reinvest in training. And I can tell you our busiest branch right now is our training department. Even our cargo training department, we were told, if you see a cargo trainer, buy them a cup of coffee, buy them something, buy them their lunch, because they are working 24 hours a day, training staff all throughout the day. So we're training staff, we're encouraging staff, we're motivating staff on the floors, because morale is low with everything that's happened with COVID.
Yeah.
All these employees are going through COVID tests. They're going through this requirement to be vaccinated. They're being put at risk to move boxes on the floor. So we are investing emotionally and physically into our staff. And obviously we're hiring just like every other airline. If you go to their job boards, they are just full of people that they're trying to backfill for, because we've unfortunately had to break off relationships. And a lot of people that join Air Canada, they join it because it's one of the biggest prides of being a Canadian citizen or being a PR resident here. You get to be part of the big national carrier. And I'm sure it's the exact same feeling at Turkish Airlines. When you think of Turkey, that's the airline. When you think of Air Canada, you think of Canada, it's got the name in it, right? And we protect that name. So we want to keep that pride and keep that morale and keep our customs and our morals with all of our employees and how we put that together.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Bahadir, the benefit of live screening, my friend.
Yes, sorry about that. I apologize.
No, don't be silly. Don't be silly. It's always nice to see active solutions.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful, mate. That's always.
I want to add
nice to see.
a couple of points to our previous discussion. As Turkish Airline, we have invested a lot for pharmaceutical industry during the pandemic. Especially, we know that as an airline, the weakest link in the air cargo industry is tarmac, because every single pallet container, sitting in tarmac for 2 hours, during unloading, loading. So we decided to invest, like 30 cool dollies for Istanbul operation. So hopefully, after having that project completed, we're gonna close the gap in Istanbul. So it's not only for hub operation. Even if you have a full control in your hub, how about the abroad stations? So, and maybe you might know that we are about to move in our smartest mega cargo terminal within a couple of months in Istanbul. So we have a very good facility. But after I hear your questions, hopefully we're not gonna we'll be wasting our investments. When you have a very, very robust solutions.
Yeah. No, I know. It's just times and influences change tactics and strategies.
Exactly.
And that's what makes our industry, the way it is.
I know, Chris, you have a lot of experience for many years, and Tom as well. Air cargo industry, has been evolving very, very slowly. It's not a very, very quick industry. So it's fragmented as well. So we still have time. So we have to invest in infrastructure, personnel, training, equipment. So we will see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think you're right there. It's a little bit like a marathon race, but this pandemic has made everybody sprint, and we just have to make sure we don't run out of energy and oxygen and breath too soon. But listen, one of the key parties within the collaborative chain, and somebody that, or I say somebody, an organisation that doesn't necessarily always get the right recognition, but the GHAs. I mean, they've come into their own now, and I've always said, it's a tough role because they're the one, they've got to expend, they've got to spend, they've got to invest, they've got all the problems of turning on, turning off, So if they don't team up with a supportive airport, they're almost left alone. They've got a tough old job, but they've done a brilliant job.
Yeah.
And as a result, and a little bit of homage to them, things that always used to aggravate me, whether I was on the carrier side or the handling side, is the complexities of SLAs and additional just-in-case lists. I think what we owe to the industry, and especially to the GHA parties, is simplify, and only focus on the critical parts. And I think, what are your thoughts there, guys?
You go first, Tom. Yeah.
Thank you. So first and foremost, the GHAs, you're right. They do have to work with the airport. What's really uncomfortable with about that situation is that there's multiple GHAs at an airport, so the airport can't show favoritism. So it all comes down to how much the GHA is willing to invest in themselves and what kind of customers they have. And the airlines are the customers of the GHAs. So obviously, when we go through our negotiations with GHAs at certain airports, we try to find the best fit for us, the best quality, the best level of service, the best security, everything. So it's the whole gamut of features that we need from a GHA. So investing in Canadian operations as Air Canada, we are the GHA. We're a great airline, and we have to learn to be we have to be a great GHA. And some of these things that we've learned from other GHAs is how to become a better GHA. I can tell you that we've had some coaching and education from some of our GHAs when we went through our CEIV certifications process. They came in and they showed us, this is what we need to do, this is how you need to do it, and this is how you show quality. So the GHAs educated us on becoming good GHAs, and that's what gave us the certification. And the airlines have to know which GHAs to work with. So outside of Canada, we work with GHAs. We look for GHAs with CEIV and GDP certification so that they can handle our cargo with the same commitment that we handle the cargo in Canada, whether it's be origin, transit, or even destined to. So that's how we have to link the GHA relationship with the airports and also with the customers as well. And I think all of us know that our airport relationships are strong because we're a passenger airline. So we have very strong relationships with the airports, and working under the wing, we have to have strong relationships with the GHAs as well.
Yeah. Okay. So that profile alignment and that criteria, some of it obviously is loaded. So that must assist you as well with your procurement colleagues as well, because there are certain things that have got a higher value than cost or end price. Otherwise we end up causing ourselves enough problems as well. Now, gents, what I'd like to ask you now is, obviously during this exercise and the way we've now managed to sprint, what sorts of new regulations were put in place governing the shipment of vaccines and other pharma goods that you either found as a benefit and a support, or as a challenge?
Chris, we work by IATA. So during the pandemic crisis, we have been working closely with WHO as well, IATA, and there are some additional requirements in terms of dry ice limits and some temperature zone requirements. And I hear that for the following months or years, many medical devices, medical equipments will be required temperature requirements as well, like 50 to 25. So which is good as long as we are ready for the requirements. we are not afraid of any regulations, regulatory bodies. We are on the same boat. We work closely, and then as long as we understand each other, and then we build something together, we collaborate. It's really good. So, but I think as Tom mentioned at the beginning of the session, like Air Canada, we are IATA CIV certified airline.
Yeah,
and it's getting very popular. I am a big fan of CIV certifications, and every time there is a panel, conferences, seminars coming from IATA, I always attend, because we learn a lot, we benefit a lot from CIV certifications, and we are live animal, fresh, pharma as well. So I'm not hoping that, because some people are not, they don't like CIV certifications, but it might become mandatory. So if it becomes mandatory, of course, not next year, following years, it can help the industry a lot. This is one thing. And other thing is, most of the majority of the pharmaceutical products, including medical supplies and devices, they might require strict temperature requirements as well. Yep. This is one thing I want to mention, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much for that. Really appreciated. Now, I know we've got to wrap up quite soon. So what I'd like to ask you both is now, what would you like to see happen within the supply chain, teamwork and collaboration platform moving forward? So what specifically would you like to see happen? And if I can ask Tom, if you can go first on that one, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. So obviously the collaboration is data sharing and transparency. I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. That collaboration was more transparent, because we'd like to know how many stations the cargo touched before it came to us. We want to know the temperature of the cargo before it even comes to us, and we take care of it. We handle it in certain ways. So that data collaboration, that one record, that universal program of having cargo talk for itself, because you can talk to a passenger, they can tell you their experience, but a box can't tell you its experience. So how do you make that box talk? And that's going to be a form of digitalization and IoT stuff that's going to be coming very, very prevalent in the next 10 years. I do want to touch on one small item from the previous question. So Janet Wallace was speaking to the government of Canada on how the regulations for pharma and how we want to transport and how we want to support the influx of vaccines coming into Canada. So she worked closely with the government of Canada to have these discussions to see how Air Canada can support as the nation's carrier. I'm sure Turkish did pretty much the exact same thing, and that was part of the understanding of other additional regulations that are going to come down for the transportation of vaccines and pharma, and if they are, we don't want to be the last ones to know from the shipper telling the freight forwarder telling us. We want to know directly from the government how these things are going to be changing, and we want to let the government know that they have the confidence that we are CEIV IATA certified. We have extreme global guidance from the IATA guidelines as well.
Exactly, and it's so important to prepare, to prepare or be involved in any new regulatory guidelines. Yeah. Always better to be there with them than wait for them. Yeah, no, 100%. Well done, Tom. Thank you very much. And Bahadir?
Yeah, last words. We believe in industry 4.0. Yeah. So a lot of people are talking about digitalization, automation, robotic process, and as Turkish Airline, again, we open up new departments to focus on those areas. And our smartest cargo mega terminal is fully automated. Again, I believe in digitalization and a lot of robotic processes, because it saves a lot of time, money, and it really helps productivity and efficiency. And hopefully, as a collaborative approach, every single stakeholder in our industry should invest something for pharmaceutical products. Yeah,
100%. And I think the ultimate aim for everybody, because of all the other pressures, is do much more with less because of digitization and automation, etc. But also reward people differently because of the multi-skills that they're able to do. So I think that's going to come as well soon. So gents, listen, I know that we're on a tight finish here. So we've just about got a minute and a half or 2 minutes. So I'd like to say thank you so much. Both the carriers that you represent are obviously well known, high standards, and they've got a good positive culture and DNA. So well done to the pair of you. Good luck with everything, and thank you so much for spending your time and giving us that valuable time.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Chris. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
Pleasure.